Question two. I'm expected to drive huge results and then told to stay in my lane. Like, how do you reconcile these two things? Yeah, it's a good question. So let's start like we always do with our nervous system. What's going on in our nervous system and why does this feel so dangerous in our bodies? So the reason that we get out of our lane is because we've decided that our validation cookies live in an area that's outside of our area of responsibility. So if you're in marketing and you believe that the only metric is revenue, but you can't go close the sales, you're probably stepping out of your lane and going and trying to do sales jobs for them too, because you believe that your success can only be measured by something that you're not in control of. So that's going to give you a lot of fear. It's going to create kind of a fight response. You're probably going to have some interpersonal issues. You're definitely going to be in your head a lot, like going, shoulds and coulds and woulds and all of that sort of exhausting energy. And then you've got a flight response that's driven by the fear that if you don't push, you're not going to get your reward. If they don't close the leads, if they don't even call the leads that you handed off to them, then it's going to look like you don't know what you're doing, right? That's a fear response. I will say in my career, particularly early in my career, I broke a lot of glass this way because I thought the outcome was more important than the longer term relationships with the people. And there were a few missteps that I made that I really paid for because those people were never on my side. Everything that I wanted to get done after that, I wasn't going to get any help from them. And I worked in partnerships where it was really important that all of these different areas of the company got on board with my ideas. And I had one person in particular who was like, this girl's annoying and I'm not going to go out of my way to help her get anything done. And so I made that mistake because I went around her when we didn't have that type of relationship yet. So you've got the fight response where you're creating interpersonal conflicts and that sort of thing, which I kind of already covered. So with our socialization, what's going on? So we're looking for validation externally, right? We're looking externally for the answer. Am I worthy? Am I doing it right? Am I successful? Am I valuable? Am I appreciated? And then we also feel like, particularly for those with additional marginalized identities, you feel like you have more to prove. So there's like an anxiety there that's driven by fear because mistakes that we make are seen as character flaws, whereas someone in a majority group that's going to be seen as character building, right? We might not get a second chance to make this mistake. And so if this is a job and we feel that we have to prove that we are qualified for this job, then we're going to often step out of our lane because we're so worried about other people's perceptions and we're trying to measure our success by something that's beyond our control. So this all is true, right? But watch out for the self-fulfilling beliefs that get you in your own way, right? Like if they don't follow up on these leads, then they're not going to see that this field event that I picked, right, in a marketing context was the right one, right? But the things that you're going to do to try to get that are going to alienate the people that you're going to need to get you there, if that makes sense. Let me know in the chat if that makes sense. I can come back to it a little bit. And then we feel responsible for other people's comfort. We think that we can control other people's emotions and behavior, particularly if we grew up in a household where we were told our behavior could make mommy mad or make daddy angry or whatever it is. And so we grow up with this belief that we can actually control how other people feel about us and what they feel in our presence, right? Which we just can't. So those are all the things that are going on with our socialization, with our nervous system. The feelings that are coming up is there's fear that if they don't do this, I won't go get this, and then I'll be a failure, right? That's always the thing that's driving it when we want to get into somebody else's lane. Or the anxiety of like, if I stay out of it, bad things are going to happen, right? So I have to stay in it. I have to keep driving it. So what happens is, of course, we feel anxious because we know we may not be extended the grace that a male counterpart or someone in a majority identity, right, will be. Of course, we want our validation cookies when we're not socialized to look inward for the answer of, am I worthy? Am I valuable? Am I doing it right? And of course, we overstep when it feels like our success is in someone else's hands. Of course, we're going to do that. So what do we do? Well, the thing that's happening right now is that we're so worried about the single outcome that we alienate the folks whose help we're going to need longer term, right? When we're getting in someone else's lane, they're going to have an issue with it. And we're so conditioned to seek our validation cookies that we don't celebrate any of our actual wins, the things that are within our control. Like I had a client who was really trying to control like the end-to-end outcome, but she was just at the beginning of it. And so one of the ways that she was really able to calm her nervous system was to tell her, like, my job is to, I don't remember what it was. It was like to attend meetings, write reports, and answer emails or something along those lines. But she really broke it down so that she could see her success every day. Or I had a client that was in client support, and she was measuring like client success kind of thing. And she was measuring whether, like, if she was doing her job by whether or not her customers were happy. And of course, you can't make everyone happy all the time. So she was in this constant state of anxiety because she was measuring her success by something she couldn't control. And so what you want to do is focus on, what is my job? If you're in marketing, right? Focus on like, I'm going to drive this type of lead and I'm going to hand off this many. What are you actually being measured on? Of course, we want to see it turned into revenue or it doesn't count, but find the things that are in your lane and start measuring your success against those. If you find yourself overstepping all the time, it's because you think that your validation cookies are in somebody else's lane. And then we're so worried about falling short that we end up getting in our own way. Like we become the problem for ourselves by doing this, because we're creating the interpersonal issues that come with getting out of your lane. So find the way to like get your cookies and understand your value and your worth on the things that you can control. You'll also be a lot happier if you're like, these are the things that are within my control that I know make me really amazing at my job. And then every day that I hit those, I remind myself how freaking good I am at this job. So that's the way to like bring it down a little bit and be able to stay in your lane. And you drive huge results, but you drive the huge results that you can control. And then whatever they do, whatever sales does when they pick up the leads, right? Whatever product does when you hand off the designs, right? Like find a way that you get your satisfaction. Not that you're not going to care if those leads get closed. Of course you are, but don't let your value come from something that's outside of your control, because it's going to lead to so much anxiety and so much interpersonal issues. All right. So the tips. First one was the metrics in your control. You could try a thought around like, I measure my success by whatever, but think about, what is my actual job? How would we know if I was actually like totally killing it? And if you're in marketing, it's like how many leads that you're going to hand off, right? What are the creative ways that you got to whatever the quota was for the month of what you were going to try to do? But get in and figure out the things that you are in control of so that you can celebrate your own success. And then you can try and statements. These will give you a little bit of nuance, like the team can miss our targets and I can still be great at my job, right? Those two things can happen. My work can be not recognized and I can still celebrate my successes, right? We always know, like it's a given. I think there's an adage somewhere, like if we hit our numbers, sales is awesome. If we didn't, marketing sucks, right? I think that's the adage. It's written somewhere, right? But just think about the ways that you can do an and statement, like this thing that I think is terrible can happen and I can still be really good at what I do. So those are my tips to stay in your lane. All right.